want to share this with you, right? This is Wolverhampton Monopoly, okay? Weird flex, but okay. It's a Monopoly board with my name on. Back in the days when I used to be a radio presenter at Wolverhampton. I've seen a lot of people busting out Monopoly and then making Zoom calls. So basically playing Monopoly over Zoom. It's funny how during this weird time, we find ourselves leaning towards old school entertainment and using newfangled technology to help us pass the hours. It's funny that, isn't it? With that in mind, what? This is NXT Graded. We start with Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher defending the NXT Tag Team Championships against Imperium's Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel. There is tension between Tim and Matt quite early on. Tim goes for a tag and Matt Riddle is too busy fighting outside with Fabian Eichner. It was Eichner that pulled him down in the first place, lest we forget, but Timbo don't see that. Later on into the match, when Riddle is being beaten up by Imperium, he goes to make the tag but can't quite make it to Thatcher. He manages to monkey flip Barthel into Timothy Thatcher. And this finishes off Timbo, and he storms off saying he's done, leaving Matt Riddle just stood there shouting, "Tim! Tim!" like it was Wimbledon in the 90s. Riddle fights valiantly against both members of Imperium, but it's just too much. He eats a European bomb. 1, 2, 3. We have brand new NXT Tag Team Champions. Giving this a B, the implosion of Riddle and Thatcher was a well-told story that didn't get in the way of some great graps either. Imperium are a great fit for Tag Team Gold. Congratulations to Fabian Eichner becoming only the second ever Italian-born champion in WWE. It's just you and Bruno Sammartino, mate. We hear from Thatcher backstage, who is frustrated with Matt Riddle, referring to him as a hot mess. They end up brawling between each other, and we'll come back to this a little bit later on. Tegan Knox versus Indi Hartwell up next. Indi is aggressive, but Tegan will not be denied. Lady Kane goozles Indi, hits her with a chokeslam, follows up with the cannonball, the crossbody, and the shiniest wizard for the 1, 2, 3. Nice little Welsh reference in renaming the cannonball there. Giving this a C. Tegan Knox has had quite a few matches like this lately. There's very much a slow build when it comes to Tegan. Having these contests where she's beaten down and she fights back from underneath. I genuinely think they've got big plans with Tegan Knox, and they're in no mad rush to get her there. Stuff like this slowly builds her up. A fired up Rhea Ripley is backstage cursing Charlotte Flair. She quotes a stupid old man in reference to Ric Flair by saying we've only just begun. She says the NXT Women's Championship is hers. Talking of championships, ex-champion Matt Riddle is having a video call with William Regal. Turns out we have a match for our main event. Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher going one-on-one later on. Thatcher must have overheard this walking down the corridor, charges into the room, decks Matt Riddle, clatters him with a monitor. See you in the main event. Interim Cruiserweight Championship Tournament action now. Tony Nese takes on Jake Atlas. Tony is this tournament's ultimate loser. Hasn't picked up a win. For Jake Atlas, he has to beat Tony Nese. So there's a real jeopardy for Jake Atlas, and there's a chance to play spoiler for Tony Nese. They tell this story really well, with Jake getting desperate every time he gets a cover. You see the frustration as Tony kicks out, and Tony Nese is just wailing on Atlas. Really intense stuff from Tony Nese in this one. Finish comes with Tony Nese and Jake Atlas fighting in the corner. Tony Nese is just wailing on Jake Atlas with chop after chop after chop after chop. Atlas survives, hits the rainbow DDT for the 1, 2, 3. Giving this a B-, a simple story told around some great wrestling action. What I love about this interim Cruiserweight Championship tournament is everybody feels like they could take it at this point, with the exception of Tony Nese, who is 0-3. But like, you've got guys like Jake Atlas fighting for it, Drake Maverick, who's fighting for his job. Then you've got Akira Tozawa and Kushida, who are just dominantly saying, I'm going to win the tournament. I like that there is this mixture of people who could potentially win the whole thing. We get an undisputed Zoom call next. They're talking all over each other, which is what happens in most Zoom calls, so that was very accurate. They all decide that it should be Roderick Strong that solves the Dexter Loomis problem. So we've got Roddy versus Loomis down the road. I must admit, I was very distracted during this by looking at Adam Cole's video game console collection that was behind him. I'm sure I saw a GameCube next to an Xbox One. Nice. We get 2 video packages now. First, Karrion Kross and Scarlett. They are basically targeting Tommaso Ciampa going forward. And Dakota Kai talks about stepping out of the shadow of her former friend Tegan Knox and aligning herself with Raquel Gonzalez. They are at the Hurt Business, and they're looking to hurt people. I like how in this weird time in wrestling, there is more need than ever to make these video packages away from the wrestling world to sell stories. And they've always been great at this of WWE, but I feel like they're raising the bar. Are you ready? Boom, boom. D-Generation X are in the backstage area. It's Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Road Dogg all chatting about the 25th anniversary of In Your House. And since we're all in our houses at the moment, we might as well celebrate that in style. And Triple H announces that coming in June, we have NXT TakeOver In Your House. We've got the old In Your House logo and everything. This is great. No matches announced for In Your House yet, but I'm expecting it to be something very special. It's great to see WWE leaning into that history that they have with the In Your House shows. If you're not familiar with the In Your House shows, if only someone like, say, Cultaholic had done a list ranking all the In Your House shows from worst to best, that would be an incredibly handy thing to... Whoa, whoa, what's that thing? What's that? Check its vibe. Check its vibe. Ooh, bad vibe. Good vibe. Watch that. Don't watch that now. Like, maybe right-click and open in a new tab. Finish watching this and then roll straight into that. Do that. Finn Balor takes on Cameron Grimes, and Grimes starts every single one of his matches the same way that I start pretty much every match in a wrestling game. Straight for the finish. Just go for your finish straight away. The cave-in is countered. Balor takes over, but Grimes manages to outmaneuver Balor and get away from the wrestling and into some just mean-spirited striking and taking down. Balor gets back into the fight, and as he does, we see Damian Priest appear. Balor sees Priest climbing over the barricade as he's fighting with Grimes outside. Hits a forearm on Priest to shut him down, hits the sling blade on Grimes, throws Grimes back into the ring, but then as Balor's getting into the ring, thwack, there's Damian Priest with his trusty baton, and moments later, Finn Balor eats a cave-in, 1, 2, 3. Cameron Grimes just pinned Finn Balor. Biggest win of Grimes' career. Once Grimes has gone, Priest drops Balor with the Reckoning, chokes him with the chair and says, if I want my name to live forever, why not take out a prince? And Damian Priest reveals that it was he that attacked Balor 3 weeks ago. And off to the races we go with Balor versus Priest. This was a B for me. Quality matches with these guys. They just mesh so well together. Cameron Grimes has such a great upside in NXT. And this, as I said a second ago, biggest win of his career so far. I'm delighted. Balor and Priest are a nice matchup. They can make some nice matchups. Our second interim Cruiserweight Championship tournament match of the night happens now. Isaiah Swerve Scott takes on Jack Gallagher. Earlier in the night, Isaiah Swerve Scott verbally vague tweeted at Jack Gallagher and Tony Nese, saying that if you can't get a win in this tournament, maybe you should quit wrestling. And Nese took umbrage with that and attacked Swerve Scott before he even gets into the ring. The ref considers waving the whole match off, but Swerve says, oh, I'm fine, ring the bell, we'll go. Gallagher dominates Swerve in this one. We see Swerve make a little comeback, hits a house call for a near fall, but Gallagher is dominant, gets a guillotine choke, followed by like a Chris Jericho Judas Effect type maneuver, like the old spinning back fist for the 1, 2, 3, and Gallagher gets himself a point in the tournament. C+, this was a really good match. These guys worked well. It was short, it was sharp. It wasn't the best match in the tournament so far, but it told a really cool story that was probably going to lead to Swerve versus Nese down the road. So what I love about this tournament, again, not only is it creating all these potential winners, but it's also giving you some cruiserweight feuds to spin off onto. Aliyah takes on Kayden Carter now. Robert Stone makes his way out to the ring. He's shown some interest recently in bringing Aliyah into the Robert Stone brand, and Aliyah is showing off a little bit for Robert Stone, takes her eye off the ball. She goes up for a moonsault, which you can tell she's a bit uncomfortable about. This ends up with Kayden Carter knocking her off the top rope, getting her in a leg lock and getting the win via submission. And after the match, Aliyah is sort of begging to Robert Stone, and Stone shuns her. I have to turn my back on you. Turns away. So, looks as if Aliyah's out of favour with Robert Stone. Giving this a C, it was fine. As much as I'm very meh about Aliyah, I'm very meh about Kayden Carter. I think there's lots of good to come from Carter. So, whilst it's great to see her getting a win, I'm kind of sad that it's a win that isn't there to boost her stock. It's more to continue Aliyah's story. We join the Garganos for dinner. Both are reveling in their victories from last week as Gargano dispatched Dijakovic and Candice LeRae beat Casey Catanzaro. Gargano is calling Keith Lee a flavour of the month. Candice LeRae is upset that Mia Yim gets so many great things handed to her, so gives you an idea of where we're going. Like last time when we had dinner with the Garganos, we have these wonderful smug scenes of them laughing and joking about all the naughty things they've done, interspersed with staring down the camera, aggressive black and white, psychotic babbling. I love it. It looks like we're gearing towards... Actually, I'll tell you what it looks like we're gearing towards, right? We've got Gargano and Candice LeRae. We've got Keith Lee and Mia Yim. We've got Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Are we getting like a power couples division in NXT? I'd be all right with that. Tell you what, if they did a mixed match challenge this time round, whoo, the talent. Madness. It's main event o'clock. It's Matt Riddle versus Timothy Thatcher. No chill for Riddle. Storms down to the ring, immediately goes to take down Thatcher. And from here, we kind of get a blood sport main event, but with less of the blood and more of the sport. This is a close quarters, grappling, striking, takedown, throwdown kind of match. The sort of matches where they're grabbing each other for ages and there's sweat flying from chops and strikes. And this is a really intense, very unorthodox match for NXT. This goes back and forth. Nobody really gets a complete purchase on the other. And it ends with Thatcher locking in the armbar on Matt Riddle, and Matt Riddle out of nowhere like maneuvering himself, trying to get out of it. Thatcher ends up grabbing a leg lock instead, so Riddle's trapped in this leg lock. He pulls himself up, leans forwards and ends up pinning Timothy Thatcher. And just like that, out of nowhere, it's over, to the point where commentary was in the middle of a sentence when the three went down. After the match, Thatcher's livid. He attacks Matt Riddle once again and works over his arm. The show ends with Matt Riddle screaming in pain as Thatcher has him in the Fujiwara armbar, staring down the lens of the camera, giving a toothless smile. Oh, cracking way to end. Giving this an A. This was a unique main event for NXT. Very much felt like a bit of a gateway drug for Bloodsport. If you liked this kind of match, you'd love the stuff they do on Bloodsport. And if you enjoyed the chemistry between Thatcher and Riddle, they had a blinder of a feud in Evolve that is definitely worth your time as well. I love this as a main event. I don't know whether every wrestling fan would have fallen for this. I'm sure this will be one that divides a little bit because it was so different to what WWE normally puts on. I'm sure casual fans might be a bit, but these are my grades. I loved it. I thought this was solid, giving it an A. And overall this week, NXT gets a B- from me. The Thatcher Riddle breakdown was a great bookend to the show. We had some very good Cruiserweight tournament action in there. And we have a new friend for Finn. Excellent times. And I, for one, am now excited to be on the road to NXT TakeOver in your house. The idea of NXT trying to do something different during these empty arena shows and going back to the past and using something from the past to, with a little bit of help from some future technology, to bring some entertainment. A little bit like Wolverhampton Monopoly. See what I did? Now the title bit makes sense. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.